Hi, my name is David and I'd like to welcome you to this very interesting video. I gotta tell you, this is the most amazingly interesting thing I have personally seen in the last maybe 11 or 12 years. Here we're going to be talking about the 9 levels of consciousness that are directly related to our physical reality. And in other words, we're going to be talking about how did we get here on earth as people, who are we, how are we made, and then we're going to see how this whole game of life works. And the reason why we're even bothering to do that is because this will enable us to become true masters, or at least start to master reality creation in a way never before seen. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that was really reserved for mystical masters back in the days, but today, because of advancements not just in consciousness but also in science, it's becoming accessible to more and more people. So let's get started right away. Let's start at the Big Bang, the beginning of our physical universe. I think today most of us have heard of the Big Bang. In other words, how did the universe come to be? Now this photo, this diagram, is taken from NASA. If you go to the NASA's website, you're going to find this over there. And according to scientists today the world over, the Big Bang has been a tested theory. In other words, it was once a theory, but now they've really tested and proven it with science to a great extent. Most scientists will agree nowadays. But essentially what it says is that in the beginning, and they calculate the beginning was maybe 14 billion years ago for this universe we live in today, not for all universes. So 14 billion years ago, out of no thing, not nothing, no thing, a singularity happened, and in literally no time it exploded and just expanded, and it continues to expand today into tons and tons and tons of galaxies and planets and stars and universes, and within those, of course, all sorts of life. So right now it's in the expansion phase, but they also scientists know that it will one day contract again, just like breath. It's expanding now and it will one day contract. Isn't that crazy? It's going to go back to that no thingness at one point. Okay, and it started literally as a fluctuation you can't even imagine, out of nothingness, like something woke up. Okay, now the thing I would like you to take away from this diagram is that if you look at that universe, it's a body that has bodies within it. What I mean is that the universe itself has galaxies, for example, within it. And then those bodies have bodies within them. So galaxies have stars and planets and everything. And planets have, let's say, creatures or lives, such as you and I, a person. And then a person inside them is made of many cells. I think a person is made of maybe 100 trillion cells. Each one of them being their own life, as in the cell, one of your cells in your body can be taken outside of your body and it will live its own life in a test tube. It doesn't need you if it's got another way to get life support. So you yourself are composed of a group of trillions of other beings, and a cell is made of tons of molecules, and the molecules are made of tons of atoms, and the atoms are made of protons and electrons, and they are just energy. So it's bodies within bodies within bodies. All right. And according to science, there's not just one universe, it's many universes, and they're all expanding and contracting, pulsating in and out of reality, just like breath. Yeah, they blink in, blink out, blink in, blink out. No one knows how many multiverses there are, or even if this universe is within another universe. No one knows for sure. What they do know is that there is not just one universe. I mean, it's a crazy thing when you think about it. But again, about this pulsation, when you think about it, the birthing of a universe that contracts and then disappears, it's just like a breath. It's in and out motion. It's a life and death, expansion and contraction, beginning and end. And this seems to be in everything in life at all levels, from universes all the way down to electrons and energy itself. Even energy doesn't just sit around like a cloud. Energy literally flashes in and out of existence, you know, like those old television screens. It just flashes in and out of existence like billions of times a second. That is what energy is. That's the study of quantum physics. How does the building material of all life, and we all know that, you know, energy is the building material of all life, how does it behave? Quantum physics shows us that without doubt it's a flashing in and out thing. Energy just flashes in and out of existence billions of times a second, and that is what we are all made of. And all this happens every billions of times a second, from no thing to something, back to no thing, just like breath. Now let's move on. I'd like to challenge you with a change of perception. Physical reality. When you're sitting in your body, opening your eyes, looking out, you seem to think that your consciousness is inside your body and physical reality is happening outside of your consciousness. But hundreds of years ago, you thought that the world was flat. It just seemed that way. And until you proved it otherwise, you could have sworn it was flat. So perhaps physicality happens within consciousness and not outside of it. Okay, just hold that thought for a while as we move on. Now let's also define consciousness properly. Consciousness means aliveness, but I just don't mean that it's a lazy or dead, inert awakeness, that is just something that's being awake and that's all it does. Think of consciousness as an organizing and directing principle of life. By that I mean this: it organizes life. In other words, it is because of your consciousness, which came first. Let's say you could even, if you want, call it your soul or spirit, that within that consciousness, your body was born and grew. So it's not like your body was born and grew and then consciousness developed, but consciousness came first and then your body was organized by that consciousness. Same with anything, from a water drop to a car. A car started as an idea, consciousness, and then it was built into a vehicle. Even an airplane, it did not happen as an airplane and then the idea of the car, of the airplane came. First the idea came and then the object. Also, consciousness is the directing principle. By that I mean that it's the one that directs how your life goes, or how water behaves, or how that plane will fly. The idea or the consciousness is directing the physicality. So it's an organizing and a directing principle. It's very active. Now let's go back to consciousness and the Big Bang. We already saw how the Big Bang works. But what about when you throw consciousness into the equation? What does that mean? And we already said that physicality happens within and because of consciousness. The conclusion is that consciousness came first. So before the physical Big Bang, you could say there was a consciousness Big Bang. And in the same way that in the physical Big Bang, there's bodies within bodies within bodies, consciousness is the same. There's consciousnesses within consciousnesses within consciousnesses. All right? From the one came the many consciousnesses. Let's call the one the all that is. Let's use that name. Or if you want, you can use names such as the creator or the source or God, up to you. But the one, the all that is, individuated, not separated, individuated, you know, things within things within things, into a myriad consciousnesses within it, which further also within each one of those birthed within them millions of more consciousnesses within them, and then each one of those ones also within them. You see, so it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, possibly into infinite levels of consciousness. Okay, let's look at how that might look like on a diagram. Here you have all that is. Yeah, within the all that is, we have consciousnesses or levels of consciousnesses. Let's call those levels oversouls. Okay, and within those oversouls, each oversoul has many other oversouls within it. Okay, each oversoul has many oversouls, just like the same way all that is has many oversouls under it. And then each one of those oversouls within the oversouls has who knows how many layers of consciousness that goes down. It could be an infinite layer. all the way up to the all that is. But we don't care about that right now because it doesn't affect directly our physical reality. But at some point, there's an oversoul that really directly affects your physical reality. In other words, that's the oversoul under which your individual soul lies. But that oversoul has many other souls within it. You're not the only soul under that oversoul. This, for example, can explain the concept of multiple lifetimes or parallel lives, parallel realities, or even past, present, future, and all that. So as you can see, all those are contained within one oversoul. That's what I mean by a soul, many souls being within one. So if at all you have any inclination to think of parallel realities, or multiple lives, or maybe in another life, or in the future, or in the present, or whatever, all those are contained within that one higher consciousness above that. So now let's look at the 9 levels of consciousness that are relevant to our physical reality. So we forget about the infinite ones that are really high, so high up there we can't even comprehend them. Okay, like we said, there is one oversoul that is directly above your own individual soul, and like we said, it's a non-physical energy that has multiple soul or spirit perspective. So not just, we already defined that. And by the way, from now we'll just define all the different 9 levels. This is the first level, but we're not going to go into the details of what each does. We'll do that later on in this video. So for now, let's just kind of list them down. Below that oversoul, the second level of consciousness is the individual soul or spirit. This is a non-physical energy. It handles the soul or spirit reality of your soul or spirit. And as we will explain later, the soul is pre-incarnation and the spirit is post-incarnation. We'll explain that later. Below it is the higher mind. This is a quasi-physical energy. Again, we will define what that means later. This one handles or is a parallel reality to your physical reality experience. In other words, it's not physical, but it is parallel. Or you could think of it as the mirror image, although it is the one that has the causative, it's the one that makes your physical life happen. So in the same way that Christians say our Father, as in the Our Father prayer, and they say something like let it be done on earth as it is in heaven, or the Egyptians said as above so below, or other people call it the star mirror. The physical reality experience mirrors the higher mind reality. Okay, but there are some differences which we will get into later. Below that, on the 4th level of consciousness, is a template reality. Again, quasi-physical energy. We will define what that means. And it is the blueprint of the physical reality level. It forms the template. Just like the same way you can have a blueprint to build a house, this is where the blueprints of reality, physical reality, are done. Below that, you have the collective automatic mind. This one now becomes physical energy. Okay? This is where the collective agreements on the operative rules of physicality are held, such as gravity. Does imagine if gravity was negotiable. Well, you could say it is, but imagine if it was handled by you and I at this low level. So we have to remember how to do it. We have to remember to turn it on or off or whatever. So it's better to leave it at a place where it works collectively according to a certain agreements for everyone playing this game. Below that, you have the individual automatic mind. This is where you have physical, your individual themes of your life are stored. For example, maybe you always felt that you needed to be a doctor or a driver or whatever it was, somebody who really likes the ocean or nature, or maybe even a gangster or a thief. It was, or maybe you have certain gifts or talents that are inborn. These is where the themes of your life are. Or maybe you keep facing the same challenges over and over, and that's your little, personal Mount Everest to overcome. This is where those things are stored, because you do have a life purpose. Below that, there's a level of the next level is called the physical mind, and it is we call it unconscious not because it is deep down under there. Simply means because although it is part of your physical mind, you're not usually aware of what lies there. Okay, again, this is physical matter. It's literally is physical matter, and this is where your beliefs are stored. Beliefs are thoughts, but let's call them beliefs for now, and we'll define them further later. Just below that, you have the emotion level. Okay, it's called subconscious because quite often we are driven by emotions. Sometimes we even hide and bury them, but they're very easy to feel if you actually open yourself to feeling your emotions. And then we have the one that we are all very aware of and very conscious of, and that is the thoughts that run around in our heads all the time. We hear these clearly, although we're very confused about what they are, where they come from, and what they can do. Again, we'll get into that shortly. So those are the 9 levels. The important thing is how they related energetically. At the highest scale, the higher you go, the energy is vibrating at a higher vibrational frequency. And the lower you go, it's vibrating at a lower vibrational frequency. It's just like water, ice, gas, or steam. Ice happens when the energy level of water really slows down. The temperature falls because the energy has fallen, and then the ice forms because the energy has fallen. Lower frequency. When you increase the frequency of the water molecules, it melts into water. When you increase them further, it becomes gas. The same way this happens. Now, there are other names for these levels, and at the very top, that Oversoul, it's called the 7th density. Some of you may already have heard of this. We're not going to get into that because it doesn't really relate to our purpose here, but we can still mention them. So as you can see, you go from the 7th density all the way down to the 3rd density. Physical life is called the 3rd density, and I mean physical life in terms of our physical life. On the 2nd density, you have plant life, very different from us, and on the 1st density, you have mineral life. Okay. But on the 3rd density, you have the ego. Let's talk about the ego. The ego is birthed simultaneously with physical experience. The ego's point is to help you focus on physicality. That's all. It is simply a tool to help you focus on physical reality. In fact, scientists who have taken EEG brainwave readings of people in deep meditation have noticed that there's a specific part of the brain that is turned off when somebody is in deep meditation. When that part of the brain is turned off, the sense of space and time and self disappear. What I'm trying to tell you is that it's scientifically proven that a part of your biology is giving you the sense of space, time, and self. When you turn that off, you go back to your natural state whereby there is no space, time, self. The ego that's what it's built for. Physical perception and focus. So let's now look at this whole thing in another analogy, in another way, just to help us understand. Now imagine that the Oversoul is doing all this so that it can experience itself or experience a game, okay? Because at the very top, you have to realize one thing. At this non-physical energy, there is no space, time, there is no limitations, everything happens instant. And everything is happening, everything at the same time, at all the time. It's a crazy thing. So to have a different experience whereby there is assumed or simulated limitations, space, time, whatever, a whole bunch of other things that cannot happen at the highest level, you have to create, let's say, a game. Now, let's say that the game is called life. But to make it easy to understand, let's compare it with a game of chess. It will be very hard to exactly match this, but we can, to an extent match these two ideas and find a common understanding. So the Oversoul individuates into an individual soul with the purpose of playing the game of chess, for example. Okay, so the individual soul will be the chess piece that will play this game. Okay, and there are many kinds of chess pieces. Each chess piece has its own purpose. So anyways, after that, the higher mind is hatched, you could say, so it can conceive the game and also do the game playing. So this is the one that's going to conceive the whole game and play the game. Okay, create and play the game, right? Then at the template level, the template of the game is drawn and decided, so that all players of this game will have the same game to be playing. And right after that, the rules of the game are set, right, at the collective automatic mind level. And then the individual automatic mind comes in. This is where the rules of your particular chess piece are set. For example, you might be a king chess piece, a rookie, a knight, or a pawn, or any one of the other chess pieces that you find in a game of chess. Each piece has its own theme, purpose, rules. How does it move? How does it operate? At this level, it's not being told how to use its powers. It's simply being told what powers it has. Remember, any piece in chess can take over another piece. A pawn is not smaller than a queen. It just has a different way of moving. In fact, a pawn can capture a queen and win the game if used in a particular way. Now comes the point where the game is actually played at the physical level. All right, this is where now the game is played. Each piece is being played actually by the higher mind. What the lower mind is doing, the physical mind, the thoughts, they're simply looking at the current state of the game and making choices. Then they might imagine or something, but then it's that imagination that then is communicated, as we will see later, to the higher mind, and then the higher mind sends an inspiration for the next move. But that inspiration comes down filtering along all these levels, from the rules of the game to the game template and the game rules, and then to the rules of your chess piece. And then this is where it gets interesting. So as you can see, those are already set. The higher mind's move is translated through all those levels of the game, but then it hits now the most personal level, the belief level. If that piece believes, maybe it could be even a queen, but that player believes, oh, I'm too scared to risk my queen, whereby another queen is, hey, I can actually pull a fast one on the other queen. The belief level is going to control how each player chooses, each queen or each knight or each pawn on the piece moves. And then you have the emotions. Let's say, for example, an emotion like excitement versus an emotion like fear. It will cause the choices at the thought level to be again different. So this is how everything starts to get personalized. All right? The beliefs at the very top, the template affects things, and then the collective automatic mind, the individual automatic mind, and even more personal, the belief system, and then the emotions that come out of that belief system, and then the thoughts that come out of that emotion, making the choice of the next move, and then perceiving what happens after that, and then sending the signal back up to the higher mind for the next move. So as you can see, each of these layers are doing a lot of filtration, and they're really affecting how the outcome of this game, and you can see how each layer plays a role in the game. Okay. Now, let's kind of define each level, or each of the 9 levels. But first, let's define the all that is, the source, or it's a complete mystery. So we cannot even comprehend it. We're just going to leave it alone. All we can say is that it's the first cause. Everything came from it, and it inherits its, in its image and likeness. Okay? Yeah. But it's eternal, right? And all powerful. I mean, it's just incomprehensible. So let's just ignore it and let's move on to the layers that we can actually understand. So now we are at the Oversoul level. This is non-physical energy, right? You have multiple soul or spirit perspectives at this level, okay? Now, what does that mean? First of all, it sees all of your lives at the same time. Remember that there is only here now. It's the only time that exists. Time is a mental construct, a perspective. It's not a reality as such. It is not a reality. Any scientist will tell you today that time is not something that exists universally. It's very much a personal or shared personal perspective, okay? Now, when we say that this energy is non-physical, what does that mean? And by that, it's completely non-physical. It means that the total experience of all those lives that the Oversoul oversees under it, if you want to, or within it, you could say, are taking no space or time. They're literally, if you want to imagine it, in an eternal moment of the here now. And as such, there is no physicality, because physicality implies space. Okay? Now, we don't know the exact number, but you can imagine it probably carries thousands upon thousands or even millions or billions of incarnations in all dimensions, because it's handling not only your personal soul in this day and time, but also the very many points in future and past, and also in alternative parallel lives, and not just of years of so many other people, and of the oversouls of all those other people. I mean, it's humongous. You cannot even imagine that, you know. Yeah, but it just carries so many lives simultaneously, but it's getting feedback from all those at all times, at once, simultaneously, synchronistically, all the time, at once. That's the perspective that the oversoul has. Yeah, and remember, above it there's an oversoul, and above that there's another oversoul of an oversoul, and it goes all the way up to the source, and it just gets very complicated up that way. So we're not gonna go up that way. Yeah, but sorry, the slide came out wrong, so let's just get that going. All right, now we have the next level, which is the individual soul or spirit. This one is sent out to experience a particular life experience. It is an energy that is completely non-physical, again, just like the oversoul. But the only difference here is the soul is formless. It has a consciousness, but no identity. You know, you can think of it as a fresh piece of clay. Yeah, it is unique, and it's an individuation, but it has not lived a life, right? But a spirit has lived a life. It has the imprints or the information of a life lived. It has experience of change and transformation. And what it does is it allows the oversoul to know itself experientially, to expand and to grow. And you can compare spirit as now that formless clay that the soul was has been shaped and maybe even taken into, you know, shaped into a piece of pottery, and maybe it's become ceramic or it's become a pot or whatever, but it's the same clay but now having been shaped. Yeah, but the one thing you have to remember is that it's not that the soul becomes spirit at the end of your life. It's happening billions of times a second at the end of every moment or every minute experience, at the birth and death of every moment. So the conversion is not happening at the end of, you know, 84 years when the person died. It's billions of times a second, because there's birth and death billions of times a second, especially at the quantum level. Things are always changing, as we will soon see later, right? Okay, now I apologize for this because it appears that my slides have they're bringing up the title after the text. Now we have the higher mind. Okay, this, as we said, is a parallel reality to your physical life. Yeah, it experiences your whole time span in this lifetime. Now, as it has a perspective of your past, present, and future all at once. All at once. It's directing it, it's creating it every moment. Okay, it is an energy that is mostly non-physical. It requires very little space, and it has no time. That's why we said it experiences your past, present, and future with all possible options all at once. But because it is leading things on the physical level, it does have some spatial or physical property to it. And it conceives and creates your physical reality experience. This is the one that conceives and creates your physical reality experience. This mind, not your lower brain. That one just perceives and experiences. Now, it is important for your physical mind to form a good working relationship with your higher mind, as in a direct connection, you could say, so that the higher mind can guide the physical mind nicely. Since the higher mind sees all your time span at once, as in is in charge of creating your reality. Yeah. Now, how does the higher mind communicate with the physical mind? It uses excitement. The higher mind will always give you excitement to show you the way forward. And how does the physical mind communicate with the higher mind? Using imagination. By imagining something, it's sending a message up to the higher mind. Two very simple channels, okay? All right. Now we have this level, which we are calling the template reality level. In a way, you could say this is the first of the destiny levels. Here you have the templates and the themes of the not personal themes, but you could say physical reality themes. It gives guidelines to our collective physical reality. Free will allows you to choose how you will interact within the templates. So although it's possible from a quantum physical perspective, for example, that you can fly like a bird, quantum physics shows that, it's possible, okay? But it's not probable. It's highly improbable that you will fly like a bird, because at the template level, that rule or even that template does not exist. Have we heard of miracles such as this? Maybe they're there, and I wouldn't say they're not. I think they are. But the probability will really depend on the purpose of that happening, for that template reality to be changed, okay? It can be changed. Remember, the template reality is under the control of the higher level, so it can be changed, but it's likely not to be changed, okay, unless there's a very good reason for that change to happen. Yeah? Now this energy is mostly non-physical, again, requires very little space and no time. But this is where you get things such as, what do you say? Anyways, let's carry on. We say that a rewrite is very, it doesn't usually happen. But imagination is what enables the rewrite or the change at the template level to happen if there's good reason for it. Imagination, you're going to find throughout these videos, is the most powerful force for communication. In fact, even Einstein said that, the same thing. Yeah. Now, by practicing your imagination and making it stronger, and thereby building faith, and thereby breaking down your beliefs that work against your imagination, you come into better direct control of various levels of reality. Maybe not control, but rather communication, all the way from your higher mind, which then controls everything down below it. You see? But you have to remember that it's not the pictures in the imagination itself that matter, it is the energy or feeling of that imagination. Yeah, what I mean is, let's say you imagine that you're going to go to Mexico. It is the feeling of holiday in Mexico that matters, and the visual, not necessarily the picture of you actually getting into a flight and landing in a particular city in Mexico. Okay, and you'll see why that matter. That is. You'll see why that is so later. And mainly is because of the way information is exchanged between these various levels of conscious. The information flows using the path of least resistance, just like water, and it follows the energetic vibration of the imagination, not the picture that was held during the imagining. Okay, so even though you're using pictures when you're doing your imagination, don't insist on looking at the outcome from the higher mind when it's delivered in the way that you pictured it. It could come in a very alternate way, in a very ultimate time. In fact, most likely it will come in a way that you never conceived of, but it will be a perfect fit to the energy of that imagination. Imagination is how you communicate with your higher self. All these levels, whether it's template reality and everything, this is how, if you need them changed, there's only one way to do it: imagination, imagination. That's how you communicate. That's how you communicate with the higher levels.